My spouse said your sibling was my favorite on their deathbed. I can't forgive him. The funeral director's pen hovers over the program as she asks me again. So Mrs. Chen, you're certain you want to speak last? After your sister-in-law's eulogy? I adjust my black dress and feel the weight of David's leather journal in my purse. 15 years of his private thoughts, written in his careful physician's handwriting. 15 years of truth that no one in this flower-filled room knows about. Yes, I'm certain. I have some personal memories to share about my husband. She nods sympathetically. Everyone's been giving me those looks since David died 4 days ago. Poor Sarah, they think. Lost her devoted husband after caring for him through 3 rounds of chemo. Such a tragic love story. If only they knew. My phone buzzes with a text from my sister Jessica. Running late from the airport. Can't wait to honor David's memory today. He was such an incredible man. See you soon, sis Red Heart. I want to throw my phone across the room. Instead, I grip it tighter and remember his exact words from Tuesday night at 11:47 p.m. when I thought he was unconscious. Jessica was always the one, Sarah. You were just convenient. The morphine had lowered his inhibitions, but his mind was still sharp. Dr. Martinez confirmed it later. Patients often have moments of complete clarity near the end. David knew exactly what he was saying when he turned his head toward me, eyes focused, and whispered the words that shattered everything I believed about our marriage. I settled for you because I couldn't have her. But I never stopped loving Jessica. She was my favorite. She was always my favorite. Then he died. Just like that. 43 years old, gone, leaving me sitting in that sterile hospital chair where I'd spent more nights than I could count, holding the hand of a man who'd apparently resented every moment of my devotion. Sarah. I turned to see David's mother approaching, her face puffy from crying. Margaret Chen has never particularly liked me. I wasn't good enough for her doctor's son, but she's been almost kind since his diagnosis 3 years ago. I wanted to thank you again for everything you did. The way you cared for David, giving up your marketing career, moving back from Portland, never leaving his side. He was so lucky to have you. My throat tightens. He told me exactly how he felt about that, Margaret. She looks confused, but before she can ask what I mean, Jessica's voice cuts through the low murmur of gathering mourners. Sarah. I watch my older sister glide through the crowd in her designer black suit, looking like she stepped off a magazine cover even in grief. At 45, Jessica is still stunning, the successful attorney with the perfect marriage to Senator Williams, the woman who visited exactly twice during David's illness because she was too busy with important cases. She pulls me into a hug, and I smell her expensive perfume. The same one she wore in college. The same one David used to buy me for birthdays, even though I told him repeatedly that it didn't smell right on me. Now I know why he kept buying it. I'm so sorry I couldn't be here more, Jessica whispers. But I'm going to make it up to him today. My eulogy is going to be beautiful. I stayed up all night writing it. David deserves the world to know what an amazing man he was. I pull back and look into her eyes, the same green eyes David stared at in our wedding photos when he thought I wasn't looking. Yes, I say quietly. Everyone should know exactly who David really was. Jessica squeezes my hands, mistaking my trembling for grief instead of rage. I know this is so hard, sweetheart. But we'll get through this together. Family sticks together, right? The irony burns in my chest. I wonder if she remembers December 1998, when she brought David home for Christmas break during their junior year at Northwestern. How she'd laughed when she introduced him to me, her awkward little sister, home from community college. David, meet Sarah. She's the responsible one in the family. I was 19. She was 22. And David looked at me like I was a consolation prize he might consider claiming later. Which, according to his journal entry from March 15, 2007, is exactly what happened. Asterisk saw Jessica on the news tonight. Another high-profile case one. She looked radiant giving that press conference. Sarah asked why I seemed distracted during dinner. How can I tell her that I married her because Jessica was untouchable? That every time I kiss her, I imagine her sister's mouth instead? Asterisk. Sarah, there you are. David's colleague Dr. Roberts approaches us, his expression somber. I wanted to speak with you before the service starts. Of course. I force a smile, though my jaw aches from the effort. I hope you don't mind, but I brought something David asked me to give you. He reaches into his coat pocket and pulls out a sealed envelope with my name written in David's handwriting. He gave this to me last month. Said if anything happened, I should make sure you got it at the funeral. My blood turns to ice. Another message from beyond the grave? My hands shake as I take the envelope. He was very specific about the timing, Dr. Roberts continues. Said you'd understand when to open it. Jessica peers over my shoulder. What is it? I don't know. But I have a terrible suspicion. David was always methodical, always planning 3 steps ahead. It's why he was such a good oncologist, and apparently why he was such a calculating husband. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please take your seats. The funeral director's voice carries across the room. We'll be beginning shortly. As people file into the pews, I catch sight of Jessica's husband, Senator Tom Williams, near the back. He's checking his phone, probably dealing with some political crisis. Their marriage has always seemed perfect from the outside, power couple goals, as Jessica liked to say. But I remember David's comment from last Christmas, the only time Tom visited during the illness, even her husband doesn't appreciate what he has. I slide into the front pew, Jessica beside me, David's parents on my other side. The envelope feels like it weighs 10 pounds in my hands. Are you going to open it? Jessica whispers. Before I can answer, the funeral director takes the podium. We're here today to celebrate the life of Dr. David Chen, beloved husband, son, and friend. We'll begin with remembrances from his colleague, Dr. Phillips. As Dr. Phillips starts speaking about David's dedication to his patients, I carefully open the envelope. Inside is a single sheet of paper with a short message. Asterisk Sarah, by now you know the truth about Jessica. But you don't know everything. Check the safety deposit box at First National. Box number 347. The key is taped under your jewelry box at home. Some secrets are worth keeping. Others aren't. Choose wisely. D*. My vision blurs. Even in death, he's still playing games, still pulling strings. Jessica notices my reaction and tries to read the note, but I fold it quickly and slip it back into the envelope. What did it say? She hisses. I look at her, beautiful, successful Jessica, who has no idea what's coming. Just something about his final wishes, I whisper back. But I'm already planning my trip to the bank. Dr. Phillips finishes his eulogy about David's unwavering compassion for his patients, and I almost laugh out loud. Unwavering compassion, if only he knew about the journal entry from October 2019, where David wrote about deliberately scheduling his most difficult patients on days when he was already irritated with me. Asterisk, if I have to come home to Sarah's hovering, at least I can take some frustration out on the hypochondriacs first. Asterisk. The funeral director calls Jessica's name, and my sister rises gracefully, smoothing her skirt. She walks to the podium like she's approaching a courtroom, confident, commanding, ready to deliver the performance of her life. Thank you all for being here today, Jessica begins, her voice carrying that practiced lawyer's projection. David Chen wasn't just my brother-in-law. He was one of my dearest friends, a man I'd known since college, someone who helped shape who I became. I dig my fingernails into my palms. She has no idea how accurate that statement is. I'll never forget the night David and I stayed up until 3 a.m. in the Northwestern Library, talking about our dreams for the future. He wanted to heal people. I wanted to fight for justice. We were just kids then, but we understood each other in a way that... She pauses, pressing her hand to her heart. That was truly special. Margaret Chen is crying softly beside me. David's father reaches over and squeezes my shoulder, probably thinking I need comfort hearing about my husband's deep bond with my sister. If he only knew about David's journal entry from Valentine's Day 2015, Sarah gave me a card with some sappy poem about eternal love. Had to excuse myself to the bathroom because all I could think about was Jessica's laugh from that library night 20 years ago. She understood my ambitions. Sarah just wants me to eat more vegetables and remember to take my vitamins. Asterisk. When David got sick, Jessica continues, and her voice breaks just slightly, a perfect touch. I was devastated that my work kept me in DC. But I knew he was in the most loving hands possible with Sarah. Every phone call, every update she gave me, I could hear the devotion in her voice. The sacrifice. My phone buzzes in my lap. A text from my neighbor Mrs. Patterson. Honey, I'm so sorry to bother you during the service, but there's a man at your house asking about a safety deposit box. Says he's from the bank? I told him about the funeral, but he seems urgent. My blood freezes. The safety deposit box. David's final message. Someone else knows about it. I glance around the room and spot a man in a gray suit standing near the back door. He wasn't here when the service started. Our eyes meet, and he nods slightly before slipping outside. Jessica's voice pulls me back. The last time I saw David, just 2 months ago, he took my hand and said something I'll treasure forever. He said, Jessica, you've always been the standard I held everyone else to. Including myself. The congregation murmurs appreciatively. Several people dab their eyes. Even Tom looks up from his phone with what might be genuine emotion. But I'm staring at my sister with new understanding. 2 months ago was when David was on his highest dose of pain medication, when I thought he was barely coherent most days. Yet somehow he was lucid enough to have heart-to-heart conversations with Jessica that he never had with me? Or is she lying? My phone buzzes again. Mrs. Patterson, he's gone now but left his card wedged in your door. Says to call him before 5 p.m. today. Something about time-sensitive materials that need to be handled properly. David taught me that love isn't just about the good times, Jessica continues. It's about showing up when things get hard. Sarah, you were his angel during the hardest time. But you want me to tell everyone here that you weren't just his caregiver, you were his heart. More tears from the audience. Margaret Chen actually reaches over and squeezes my hand. I want to scream. Instead, I smile graciously and check the time on my phone, 2:17 p.m. Less than 3 hours to call this mysterious bank representative. And I still have my own eulogy to deliver. Jessica steps down from the podium, tears glistening perfectly on her cheeks. She sits beside me and whispers, I hope that was okay. I wanted to honor both of you. It was beautiful, I whisper back. Very illuminating. The funeral director approaches the podium and looks directly at me. And now, David's wife Sarah would like to share some personal memories. I stand up, David's journal heavy in my purse, that bank representative's presence burning in my mind like a warning sign. Whatever David hid in that safety deposit box, someone wants it badly enough to show up during his funeral. Time to find out what my dead husband is still trying to tell me. I walk to the podium on unsteady legs, David's journal weighing down my purse like a stone. The faces staring back at me blur together, colleagues who admired him, neighbors who thought we had the perfect marriage, family members who never knew the truth. My hands grip the wooden edges of the podium. Thank you all for being here today. David would have been touched by your presence. I pause, scanning the crowd. The man in the gray suit is back, standing by the side door. He's not looking at me, he's looking at Jessica, and there's something calculating in his expression that makes my stomach clench. My sister Jessica spoke beautifully about knowing David in college. She's right, they had a special connection. I let those words hang in the air for a moment. In fact, David kept very detailed records of all his important relationships. He was meticulous that way. Jessica shifts in her seat. She's probably wondering where I'm going with this. For 15 years, I thought I knew my husband completely. We shared everything, or so I believed. But David left me some final messages that have opened my eyes to things I never understood. I pull out my phone and pretend to check the time, but really I'm reading Mrs. Patterson's latest text. The man came back. Says his name is Marcus Webb from First National Estate Services. Very insistent about meeting with you today. Should I call the police? Marcus Webb. Estate Services. My heart pounds as pieces start clicking together. This isn't just about a safety deposit box, this is about David's will, his assets, something bigger than his deathbed confession. David was a planner, I continue, my voice growing stronger. Even when he was dying, he was still orchestrating things, still pulling strings. Some of you might not know this, but 3 weeks before he passed, David made some significant changes to his legal documents. That's a lie, but I watched Jessica's face go pale. Tom looks up from his phone sharply. Even Margaret Chin turns to stare at me with confusion. Changes that involved people in this room. My phone buzzes. A new number. Mrs. Chen, this is Marcus Webb. We need to discuss your husband's final instructions regarding certain beneficiaries. There are documents that affect more than just you. Can you meet me outside? This is time sensitive. The bastard is texting me during the funeral. But the word beneficiaries, plural, makes my blood run cold. Who else did David leave something to? Sarah, Margaret Chin calls out from the front pew, her voice strained. What are you talking about? What changes? I look directly at Jessica, whose face has gone from pale to gray. She knows something. I can see it in her eyes, the same look she used to get in high school when she'd been caught in a lie. David left very specific instructions about revealing certain truths after his death. Some of these truths involve financial matters. Others involve. I pause, letting my gaze sweep across Tom Williams, whose political instincts have clearly kicked in because he's already standing up. I think we should discuss private family matters privately, Tom says, his senator voice carrying authority. This isn't the appropriate venue for. Sit down, Tom. The words come out sharper than I intended. David's funeral, David's wishes. But my phone is buzzing nonstop now. Webb again, Mrs. Chen, Jessica Williams is also named in these documents. As is her husband. We have exactly 90 minutes before certain legal deadlines expire. This affects everyone's future. Jessica Williams. Not Jessica Chen, her maiden name. Jessica Williams, the senator's wife, with all the political and financial implications that carries. I look at my sister, who's now gripping the pew in front of her. Jessica, did you and David discuss anything besides old college memories during those phone calls? Sarah, what are you doing? She whispers, but it's loud enough for the front rows to hear. I'm wondering if you knew about David's final arrangements. The ones involving you specifically. Tom is moving toward the aisle now, clearly wanting to get Jessica out of here, but she's frozen in place. What arrangements? Margaret Chin demands. Sarah, you're scaring people. I hold up my phone, showing Webb's messages without letting anyone read the details. David's estate attorney has been trying to reach us. Apparently there are documents that need to be signed today. By multiple parties. That's when Jessica finally speaks, and her voice is barely above a whisper. Sarah, please. Not here. Not like this. Which tells me everything I need to know. She does know something about David's final plans. The room has gone completely silent except for the sound of Tom Williams walking out the side door, probably to intercept Marcus Webb before I can get to him. But I'm not done yet. I reach into my purse and pull out David's journal, holding it up so everyone can see it. This contains 15 years of my husband's private thoughts. His real feelings about our marriage, about the people in this room, about sacrifices and love and truth. Jessica stands up suddenly. I need some air. No. My voice cuts across the room like a blade. You need to hear this first. Because whatever David put in that safety deposit box, whatever Marcus Webb is so desperate to discuss, I have a feeling it's going to destroy more than just my illusions about my marriage. It's going to destroy everything. I open David's journal to a page I bookmarked this morning and begin to read aloud. March 15th, 2019. Sarah made her famous lasagna tonight, the recipe she got from my mother. She was so proud, kept asking if I liked it. I told her it was perfect, but the truth is Jessica's cooking was always better. Everything about Jessica was better. Sometimes I lie awake wondering what my life would have been like if I'd fought harder for her instead of settling for the consolation prize sleeping next to me. The silence in the room is deafening. I can hear Margaret Chen's sharp intake of breath, see the shock rippling through the congregation like a physical wave. Jessica has gone completely white. Sarah, stop. Please. But I flip to another page. June 3rd, 2020. First chemo session today. Sarah held my hand the entire time, brought magazines and snacks, even convinced the nurses to let her stay past visiting hours. I should be grateful, but all I feel is trapped. She's suffocating me with care I never wanted from her. If it were Jessica sitting beside me, this would all feel different. Jessica understands ambition, drive, success. Sarah just understands how to hover. That's enough. Margaret Chin stands up, her face flushed with anger and confusion. How can you do this? Today of all days? Because 3 days ago, your son looked me in the eye and told me he settled for me. I snap back. Because I gave up everything, my career, my friends, my entire life, to care for a man who resented every moment of it. My phone buzzes with an urgent text from Webb. Tom Williams just threatened me with a restraining order. Whatever you're doing in there, you have 20 minutes before he gets a judge involved. The documents I have will change everything, but only if we can execute them properly. David's instructions were very specific about timing. 20 minutes. Tom is moving fast, which means whatever David left behind is dangerous enough to end a political career. I look directly at my sister. Jessica, what did you and David really talk about during those phone calls? She's shaking now, gripping the pew so hard her knuckles are white. We talked about old times. About college. About the $200,000 he transferred to your personal account last month? The lie comes out so smoothly that even I'm surprised. But Jessica's reaction tells me I've hit something close to the mark. Her face crumbles, and she actually staggers backward. How did you? She starts, then stops herself. Holy shit. There actually was money. I was bluffing, but there was actually money. The bank records are all in David's safety deposit box. I continue, riding the wave of her panic. Along with copies of your phone conversations. Did you really think he wouldn't document everything? Margaret Chin turns to stare at Jessica. What money? What conversations? Mom, I can explain, Jessica starts. $200,000, I repeat, louder this time. Transferred from David's medical practice account to Jessica Williams' personal banking. While I was spending 18 hours a day managing his medications and cleaning up his vomit. The room erupts in whispers. David's colleagues are looking at each other with confusion and growing anger. His medical practice partners are probably already calculating how this affects their liability. Dr. Roberts, who gave me the envelope earlier, stands up. Sarah, are you saying David was liquidating practice assets without partner approval? Before I can answer, my phone rings. It's Webb, and I can hear shouting in the background. I answer on speaker. This is Sarah Chen. Mrs. Chen, Tom Williams just arrived with courthouse security, but I've got 5 minutes before they can legally stop me. Your husband left explicit instructions that if anyone tried to prevent today's revelations, I should call the FBI Financial Crimes Division. Do you want me to make that call? The FBI. Financial crimes. David wasn't just leaving me breadcrumbs about his feelings, he was exposing something bigger. Jessica suddenly lunges toward me. Hang up the phone, Sarah. You don't understand what you're doing. But I step back, keeping the phone active. Mr. Webb, what exactly did my husband leave in that safety deposit box? Evidence of a money laundering operation using medical charity funds. Evidence of political contributions being funneled through fake patient accounts. And recordings of every conversation he had with Jessica Williams about covering it up. The bottom drops out of my world. This isn't about love triangles or hurt feelings. This is about federal crimes. And my sister is in the middle of all of it. The room explodes into chaos. Jessica's face has gone from white to green, and she's actually swaying on her feet. Margaret Chen is shouting questions that no one's answering. David's medical partners are already pulling out their phones, probably calling their lawyers. But I keep my eyes fixed on Webb's voice coming through the speaker. Mrs. Chen, are you still there? I'm here, I manage, though my voice sounds like it's coming from underwater. Mr. Webb, how long did my husband document this operation? Based on the materials in box 347, approximately 8 years. Starting in 2015 when Senator Williams first approached Dr. Chen about using his medical charity foundation as a pass-through for campaign contributions that exceeded legal limits. 8 years. I think back to 2015, that was when David suddenly became interested in expanding his practice's charitable work. When he started that foundation for underserved cancer patients and began working longer hours, taking more business trips. I thought he was having a midlife crisis about making a difference. Turns out he was making a difference in Tom Williams' political career. The recordings, I say, and my voice is steadier now. How many conversations did he record? 47 calls between Dr. Chen and Jessica Williams. 12 in-person meetings that were recorded via his phone app. And one particularly damaging video call from last month where Mrs. Williams explicitly discusses using her husband's Senate position to influence medical regulation legislation in exchange for continued financial support. Jessica makes us sound like a wounded animal. Sarah, please, you have to understand, David approached us. He said he wanted to help Tom's career, wanted to be part of something bigger than just treating patients. I never meant for. Shut up, Jessica. Tom Williams is suddenly back in the room, flanked by 2 men in suits who definitely aren't courthouse security. Don't say another word. But it's too late. Webb heard everything, and so did the 100 people still sitting in stunned silence in the pews. Mrs. Chen, Webb continues through the phone, your husband's final instructions were very clear. If anyone attempted to intimidate or silence you today, I was to immediately contact FBI agent Patricia Gonzalez at the Washington field office. Should I make that call now? I look at Tom Williams, whose face has gone purple with rage, then at Jessica, who started crying. Real tears this time, not the perfectly timed grief from her eulogy. How much money? I ask. Total. Based on the documentation, approximately $2.3 million funneled through the foundation over 8 years. Mrs. Williams received direct payments totaling $847,000. The rest went to various political action committees supporting Senator Williams' campaigns. Margaret Chen sits down heavily, like her legs won't support her anymore. $800,000, she whispers. While Sarah was sleeping on a cot in your hospital room. David's colleague Dr. Phillips stands up, his face grim. Sarah, the medical board is going to have to investigate every patient account, every charitable transaction. This could destroy the practice, affect ongoing patient care for hundreds of people. The weight of that hits me like a physical blow. David's revenge isn't just targeting Jessica and Tom, it's going to hurt innocent people who trusted him with their lives. Mr. Webb, I say, what happens if I choose not to retrieve the contents of the safety deposit box? If I just walk away from all this? According to your husband's instructions, if you don't claim the materials by 5 p.m. today, they get automatically forwarded to the FBI, the medical board, the Senate Ethics Committee, and the Washington Post. Dr. Chen was very thorough about ensuring the truth would come out regardless of your decision. Of course he was. Even in death, David's still controlling everyone's choices. I look around the room, at his grieving parents, at his terrified colleagues, at my sister whose political marriage is about to implode on national television. Then I think about 15 years of sleeping on hospital chairs, of giving up my career, of believing I was caring for a man who loved me. Mr. Webb? Make a call to Agent Gonzalez. And tell her we're going to need a very large evidence room. The line goes dead. In the silence that follows, I can hear my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. Tom Williams is already barking orders into his phone. I need Judge Morrison on the line now. Yes, I know it's Saturday. Tell him it's a national security issue. He shoots me a look that could kill. And get my attorney down here immediately. But Jessica just stands there, swaying slightly, staring at me with an expression I've never seen before. Not the competent big sister who always had everything under control. This is someone whose entire world just collapsed in real time. Sarah, she whispers, you don't understand. David, he didn't just record our conversations. He recorded yours too. My blood turns to ice. What? The fight you two had about money. About his treatment decisions. About. She swallows hard. About the insurance policies. Margaret Chen's head snaps up. What insurance policies? I feel the room spinning around me. David had 3 life insurance policies, I know because I've been dealing with the paperwork all week. Standard policies that any doctor would carry. Nothing suspicious about them. The 4th policy, Jessica continues, her voice barely audible. The one he took out 18 months ago. The one that pays double if he dies during active cancer treatment. Jessica, shut your mouth. Tom roars, but she's not listening to him anymore. He knew the experimental treatment wasn't working. Dr. Martinez told him back in January that he had maybe 6 months. But David kept pushing for more aggressive protocols, more hospital time, more. She looks directly at me. More opportunities for you to be the devoted wife while he documented every moment of your martyrdom for the insurance investigators. The funeral home feels like it's tilting. I grip the podium harder. What are you saying? I'm saying your husband spent his last 2 years building a case that you were the perfect beneficiary. Never left his side, gave up everything, completely financially dependent on him. And if anyone ever questioned the timing of his death. Jessica's voice breaks. He has hours of recordings of you begging him to fight harder, to try new treatments, to never give up. Dr. Roberts clears his throat uncomfortably. Sarah, David did mention some concerns about making sure his affairs were in order for your protection. He said there might be people who would question your devotion after he was gone. My knees almost give out. Even his colleagues were in on it. David wasn't just planning to expose Jessica's crimes, he was setting me up as the grieving widow above reproach while documenting evidence that would destroy anyone who challenged his final narrative. How much? I ask, though I'm not sure I want to know. Jessica wipes her eyes, smearing her perfect makeup. The fourth policy is worth $4.2 million. But only if the death occurs during active treatment, with a devoted spouse present, and no questions about the beneficiary's motives. Tom Williams ends his call and stalks toward us. This conversation is over. Jessica, we're leaving. Now. But she doesn't move. Tom, they're going to find everything anyway. The FBI, the medical board, David kept copies of everything. Including the documents you had me notarize about transferring campaign funds. I said we're leaving. No. Jessica straightens up, and for a moment she looks like the sister I grew up admiring. I'm done running from this. Sarah deserves to know the whole truth. She turns back to me. David approached us 3 years ago, right after his diagnosis. Said he wanted to make sure his death mattered beyond just leaving you comfortable. He proposed the charity scheme to help Tom's career, but more than that. She takes a shaky breath. He wanted to create a situation where you'd be so clearly the innocent victim that no one would ever question anything about his death or your inheritance. Including the timing? The words come out as barely a whisper. Jessica nods miserably. He stopped taking 2 of his medications 6 weeks ago. Dr. Martinez doesn't know, David was getting them filled but not taking them. He wanted to control exactly when and how he died so you'd be present for the perfect final scene. The room erupts again, but this time I can barely hear it over the roaring in my ears. David didn't just manipulate my emotions, he manipulated his own death, turned his final moments into a performance designed to protect an insurance payout while destroying my sister. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Mrs. Chen, this is Agent Gonzalez. We're en route to the funeral home. Please don't let anyone leave the premises. I look up at the chaos around me, Tom frantically making calls, Jessica crying, Margaret Chen demanding answers from David's colleagues, mourners whispering frantically among themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, I call out, my voice cutting through the noise. I'm afraid no one will be leaving just yet. I hold up my phone showing Agent Gonzalez's message. The FBI is on their way. And I suspect this funeral is about to become a crime scene. The FBI arrives in exactly 12 minutes. I know because I'm counting every second, watching Tom Williams pace like a caged animal while Jessica sits slumped in the front pew, her perfect composure finally shattered. Agent Patricia Gonzalez is younger than I expected, maybe 40, with sharp eyes that take in the entire scene immediately. She's flanked by 3 other agents and what looks like a forensic accountant carrying multiple briefcases. Mrs. Chen? I'm Agent Gonzalez. We spoke with Mr. Webb from the bank. Her voice is calm, professional. I understand there are materials that pertain to an ongoing investigation into campaign finance violations and potential insurance fraud. Insurance fraud. The words hit me like a physical blow. Even now, even after everything I've learned, part of me still can't believe David planned his own death down to the minute. Agent Gonzalez, Tom Williams steps forward, his senator voice in full command mode. I'm Senator Thomas Williams. There seems to be some confusion about. Senator Williams, we'll need to speak with you separately. Please remain seated. Her tone doesn't change, but there's still underneath it. Mrs. Chen, Mr. Webb indicated that your husband left specific instructions about how these materials should be handled? I nod, pulling out the note David left me through Dr. Roberts. He said to check safety deposit box 347 at First National. But apparently he also set up some kind of automatic disclosure if I didn't claim it by 5 p.m. today. That's correct. Dr. Chen was very thorough in his planning. Agent Gonzalez glances around the room, her gaze lingering on the 100-plus funeral attendees who are now witnesses to a federal investigation. He also provided us with preliminary documentation 3 weeks before his death. My stomach drops. He contacted you directly? Dr. Chen reached out to our white-collar crimes division on February 18th, said he had information about illegal campaign contributions and wanted to cooperate in exchange for immunity for his wife regarding any insurance matters. The room spins around me. February 18th was the day after David's last appointment with Dr. Martinez, when they discussed stopping treatment. He knew exactly how long he had left, and he spent those final weeks orchestrating this entire scenario. Jessica makes a strangled sound. He promised us he would never involve federal authorities. He said it was just about documenting everything in case questions came up later. Agent Gonzalez pulls out a digital recorder. Mrs. Williams, are you saying you were aware of Dr. Chen's documentation efforts? Don't answer that, Tom snaps, but Jessica ignores him. David called me every few days for the past 2 months. Said he was getting his affairs in order and wanted to make sure there were no loose ends about our arrangement. He recorded everything, didn't he? We have 47 recorded conversations, yes. Including one from March 3rd where you explicitly discuss using Senate resources to delay a medical ethics investigation into your husband's foundation. Margaret Chen stands up abruptly. Agent Gonzalez, are you saying my son was working with the FBI while he was dying? That he turned his own funeral into some kind of sting operation? Before Agent Gonzalez can answer, my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Sarah, there's one more thing in the safety deposit box. Something David wanted only you to see. Box 891, same bank. Key is in the lining of his briefcase at home. This one's personal, not evidence. Marcus Webb. Another box. Something personal that even the FBI doesn't know about. I show the message to Agent Gonzalez, who frowns. Mr. Webb didn't mention a second box. Mrs. Chen, did your husband give you any other instructions? Just this. I hold up David's journal. 15 years of his private thoughts, including entries about manipulating his medication schedule and timing his death for maximum impact. Dr. Phillips, who's been silent through most of this, suddenly speaks up. Sarah, what do you mean about medication manipulation? David's treatment protocols were carefully monitored. By you? I turn to face him. Because according to my sister, David stopped taking 2 of his medications 6 weeks ago. Were you aware of that, Dr. Phillips? As his attending physician? His face goes pale. That's impossible. I reviewed his chart personally every week. His medication compliance was documented by nursing staff. Agent Gonzalez steps forward. Dr. Phillips, we're going to need access to all of Dr. Chen's medical records immediately, including nursing logs and pharmacy records. This is insane, Tom Williams explodes. Patricia, you're disrupting a funeral based on the word of a grieving widow who's clearly having some kind of breakdown. Senator Williams, Agent Gonzalez's voice cuts like ice. We have bank records showing $2.3 million in suspicious transfers, recorded conversations discussing federal crimes, and evidence that a licensed physician may have deliberately hastened his own death to trigger insurance payouts. This isn't about grief anymore. She turns back to me. Mrs. Chen, I need to ask you directly, did you have any knowledge of your husband's medication changes or his plans to contact federal authorities? I look around the room, at Jessica's tear-streaked face, at Margaret Chen's expression of growing horror, at David's colleagues who are realizing their practices might be implicated in federal crimes. Agent Gonzalez, 3 days ago I thought I was married to a devoted husband who loved me. Now I find out he spent 15 years documenting his resentment, 8 years running criminal schemes with my sister, and his final months planning his death like a chess game where everyone else was just pieces to be moved. I pause, feeling something hard and cold settling in my chest. So no, I didn't know about any of this. But I'm damn sure going to find out what else he left in that second safety deposit box. Agent Gonzalez assigns Agent Morrison to escort me to First National Bank while the rest of her team processes what's rapidly becoming the most bizarre crime scene in funeral home history. As we walk to her unmarked sedan, I can see news vans already pulling into the parking lot. Someone tipped off the media that Senator Williams is at the center of an FBI investigation. Mrs. Chen, Agent Morrison says as we drive through downtown, I need you to understand that whatever we find in box 891 might not be admissible evidence if it was obtained through your husband's unconventional methods. I stare out the window at the gray February afternoon. Agent Morrison, at this point I don't care about evidence or legal procedures. I just want to know what other surprises my dead husband left for me. The bank manager, a nervous man named Henderson, meets us at the entrance with a ring of keys. Mrs. Chen, I'm so sorry for your loss. Dr. Chen was very specific about the timing of access to box 891. He said you'd understand the significance when the moment came. Even the bank manager was part of David's elaborate plan. I wonder how many other people he recruited for his final performance. Box 891 is smaller than I expected, tucked away in a corner of the vault. My hands shake as I turn the key, Agent Morrison standing behind me with her notepad ready. Inside, there's a single manila envelope with my name written in David's precise handwriting, and underneath it, a small velvet jewelry box I've never seen before. I open the envelope first. It contains a single photograph and a handwritten letter. The photograph stops my heart. It's me, asleep in the hospital chair beside David's bed, taken maybe 2 weeks ago. But I look terrible, exhausted, thin, my hair unwashed, dark circles under my eyes. I look like someone who's been slowly dying alongside her husband. The letter is dated March 8th, 5 days before David died. Asterisk Sarah, by now you know everything about Jessica and the money. You know about the insurance policies and my arrangement with the FBI. You probably think I orchestrated all of this to hurt you, or to control you even from beyond the grave asterisk. Asterisk, but there's something you don't know. Something I could never tell you while I was alive because it would have destroyed the very thing I was trying to preserve asterisk. Asterisk, I stopped loving Jessica the night she chose Tom Williams over everything we built together. That was December 2008, when she called to tell me she was engaged. I realized in that moment that I'd spent 10 years of our marriage comparing you to a fantasy asterisk. Asterisk, the truth is, Sarah, watching you care for me these past 3 years broke something open in my chest that I thought had died years ago. The way you slept in that chair, the way you learned medical terminology just to understand my treatment, the way you held my hand during the worst moments, no one has ever loved me like that. Including Jessica asterisk. Asterisk, the recordings, the FBI cooperation, the insurance documentation, it was all to protect you. Because I knew that when everything came out about the money laundering, they'd look for someone to blame. They'd question your motives, your devotion, maybe even suggest you wanted me dead for the insurance money asterisk. Asterisk, I needed to create an unshakable record of your innocence. Every recording shows you begging me to fight harder, to try experimental treatments, to never give up. Every document proves you sacrificed everything for someone you believed loved you asterisk. Asterisk, and Sarah, I did love you. I loved you so much in those final months that I couldn't bear the thought of you spending the rest of your life wondering if you'd been foolish to care for a man who was just using you asterisk. The jewelry box contains my grandmother's engagement ring, the one I should have given you 15 years ago instead of the ring I bought thinking about someone else. Asterisk, Jessica's crimes will destroy her marriage and probably send her to prison. Tom's career is over. But you'll be free of all of us, with enough money to build whatever life you want asterisk. Asterisk, I'm sorry it took dying for me to realize that you were never the consolation prize, Sarah. You were the prize itself, and I was too stupid and bitter to see it asterisk. Asterisk, I love you. I have loved you. I will always love you asterisk. David. I drop the letter and sink into the chair Henderson provided, my entire body shaking. Agent Morrison picks up the letter, reads it quickly, then looks at me with something that might be sympathy. Mrs. Chen? Are you all right? I reach for the jewelry box with trembling fingers. Inside is the most beautiful ring I've ever seen, an antique setting with a stone that catches the fluorescent bank lighting like fire. And tucked beneath the ring, there's a small key with a tag that reads, Storage Unit 247, Westfield Road. Final gift. Use it or sell it, your choice now. D. A storage unit. There's still more. My phone rings. It's Agent Gonzalez. Sarah, we need you back here immediately. Jessica Williams just confessed to everything, and she's claiming David blackmailed her into the money laundering scheme. We need to know if you have any evidence that contradicts her story. I look down at David's letter, at the ring that represents the love he apparently discovered too late to matter. Agent Gonzalez, I say, I think I have exactly what you need. The drive back to the funeral home feels like moving through a nightmare. Agent Morrison keeps glancing at me in the rearview mirror as I clutch David's letter and the antique ring box. My phone hasn't stopped buzzing, reporters calling, David's medical partners, even some number claiming to be from CNN. Mrs. Chen, before we go back in there, I need to ask you something, Agent Morrison says as we pull into the parking lot. Your husband's letter mentions that he manipulated his medication timing. Did you ever notice any changes in his routine or behavior in his final weeks? I think back to those last horrible days. He started asking me to leave his bedside more often. Said he needed space to process his illness privately. I thought he was just struggling emotionally with the end. How often would you leave? Maybe an hour each day. I'd go home to shower or grab clean clothes. The realization hits me like ice water. That's when he was skipping his medications, wasn't it? And probably making phone calls to you people. Agent Morrison nods grimly. The preliminary forensics on his phone records show 43 outgoing calls during those timeframes over the past 6 weeks. Most to FBI tip lines, some to Jessica Williams, and several to reporters. Reporters. David had been feeding information to the media too, probably ensuring the story would explode exactly as we found the evidence today. As we walk back into the funeral home, I can hear shouting from inside. Through the windows, I see Tom Williams gesturing angrily at Agent Gonzalez while Jessica sits motionless in the front pew, staring at her hands. Sarah. Margaret Chen intercepts me at the door. Her eyes are red from crying, but there's something else there now, a desperate kind of hope. They're saying David was trying to protect you, that everything he did was to make sure you wouldn't be blamed for the money. Is that true? I show her David's letter, watching her face crumble as she reads his words about realizing he'd loved me after all. 15 years too late, she whispers. Oh, Sarah. He was always too proud, too stubborn to admit when he was wrong about something important. Dr. Roberts approaches us, his face grim. Sarah, the FBI is asking questions about David's access to patient medication records. There's a possibility he was altering dosages for other people too, not just himself. My blood freezes. Other patients? We're not sure yet. But if David was manipulating medications as part of this insurance scheme. He doesn't finish the sentence, but the implication hangs in the air like poison. Agent Gonzalez appears at my elbow. Mrs. Chen, we need to discuss what you found at the bank. But first, there's been a development. She leads me to a quiet corner where we can talk privately. Jessica Williams just admitted to something that changes everything. She claims David threatened to expose her affair with Dr. Matthews if she didn't cooperate with the money laundering. Dr. Matthews. David's oncology partner, the one who was supposedly monitoring his treatment protocols. What affair? I ask, though my stomach already knows the answer. According to Mrs. Williams, she and Dr. Matthews have been involved for 2 years. Your husband discovered it and used it as leverage to force her participation in the illegal campaign contributions. I sink into a chair, David's letter still clutched in my hands. Even his final confession was incomplete. He'd orchestrated Jessica's destruction not just for money or FBI cooperation, but because she was sleeping with his medical partner. There's more, Agent Gonzalez continues. Dr. Matthews has been arrested. His medical records show he prescribed medications to patients who didn't exist, then sold those drugs to fund additional payments to Jessica Williams. We're talking about a conspiracy involving fake patients, illegal prescriptions, and potentially dozens of people who received substandard care. The room starts spinning again. David wasn't just manipulating his own death, he'd been part of a network that put real patients at risk. My phone buzzes with a text from the storage unit key. Mrs. Chen, this is Detective Ray Cooper, Atlanta PD. We found your contact information in connection with storage unit 247. There's been a break-in, and we need you to verify what might be missing. Can you come to Westfield Road immediately? Someone broke into David's storage unit before I could even find out what was in it. I show the message to Agent Gonzalez, whose expression darkens. Mrs. Chen, how many people knew about the storage unit? I just found out about it 20 minutes ago, I reply. But David left instructions with a lot of people. The bank manager, Marcus Webb, probably others. Agent Gonzalez pulls out her phone. I'm calling Atlanta PD. Whatever your husband stored there, someone wanted it badly enough to commit a felony to get it. As she makes the call, I look across the funeral home at Jessica, who's now talking intensely with her lawyer. Tom Williams is nowhere to be seen, probably already on a plane back to Washington to start damage control. Margaret Chen sits down beside me. Sarah, whatever else David did, whatever mistakes he made, I want you to know something. She takes my hand gently. The way you cared for him these past 3 years, that was real love. Whatever he felt or didn't feel, whatever he was planning or hiding, you gave him everything you had. And look where it got me, I whisper. My husband's dead, my sister's going to prison, and apparently there's still more evidence hidden somewhere that people are willing to steal. My phone rings. Detective Cooper from Atlanta. Mrs. Chen? We've secured the storage unit, but I'm afraid whoever broke in was very thorough. The unit contained what appears to be extensive financial records, some medical files, and several boxes of personal items. Most of it's been scattered, but nothing appears to be missing. Nothing's missing? That doesn't make sense. Then why break in? That's what we're wondering. It's almost like someone was looking for something specific and didn't find it. Mrs. Chen, do you have any idea what your husband might have stored there besides documents? I think about David's methodical planning, his need to control every detail even from beyond the grave. Detective Cooper, I say slowly, I think someone else is looking for evidence that doesn't exist yet. I hang up with Detective Cooper just as Agent Gonzalez approaches with a grim expression. Mrs. Chen, we've got a problem. Tom Williams didn't fly back to Washington, he drove straight to Atlanta. His cell phone pinged near the storage facility 2 hours ago. My blood turns to ice. You think Tom broke into David's storage unit? It's looking that way. And if he did, it means there's something in there that could destroy him even beyond what we already have. She pauses, studying my face. Mrs. Chen, I need to ask you directly, did your husband ever mention having evidence about Senator Williams that went beyond campaign finance violations? I'm about to say no when I remember something. Last Christmas, when Tom made his rare visit during David's illness, I'd walked into the living room to find them having an intense, whispered conversation that stopped abruptly when they saw me. David had looked triumphant. Like he'd just won something. There was a conversation last December, I tell Agent Gonzalez. Tom seemed upset, and David looked pleased about it. But I assumed it was just about Jessica's money problems. What money problems? I pull out David's journal and flip to an entry I'd marked earlier. December 23, 2022, Tom doesn't know about Jessica's gambling debts yet. $340,000 in losses over the past 18 months. She's been taking money from their joint accounts to pay bookies, telling him it's for campaign consultants. When he finds out, their marriage will implode naturally. But I might tell him myself if he doesn't agree to my terms about the foundation audit. Agent Gonzalez goes very still. Gambling debts. That changes everything. She pulls out her phone. I need to get this information to our financial crimes unit immediately. If Jessica Williams was being extorted by illegal gambling operations while having access to campaign funds. Before she can finish, my phone buzzes with a call from an unknown Atlanta number. Sarah? This is Tom Williams. Agent Gonzalez immediately signals for me to put it on speaker while she alerts her team. Tom, where are you? I try to keep my voice steady. I'm at David's storage unit. Or what's left of it. His voice sounds strained, desperate. Sarah, whatever you think you know about Jessica and me, there are things that go deeper than campaign violations. Like Jessica's gambling debts? The silence stretches for nearly 10 seconds. When Tom speaks again, his political composure is completely gone. David told you about Atlanta? Atlanta. Not just gambling debts, something specific to Atlanta. Agent Gonzalez is frantically writing notes and showing them to me. Keep him talking. Ask about Atlanta. Tom, I don't know anything about Atlanta. David left me a lot of information, but apparently not everything. The medical conference in 2019, Tom says, and I can hear traffic in the background. David recorded Jessica meeting with the casino representatives. She wasn't just gambling, Sarah, she was laundering money for them through campaign contributions. They were using her political connections to legitimize illegal gambling operations. My hands start shaking. Jessica wasn't just stealing campaign money to pay gambling debts, she was actively helping organized crime infiltrate political fundraising. Agent Gonzalez grabs the phone. Senator Williams, this is FBI Agent Gonzalez. We need you to return to the funeral home immediately. Agent Gonzalez, I think you misunderstand the situation. I'm not running from this, I'm trying to clean up a mess that's about to get people killed. Tom's voice drops. The people Jessica owes money to don't care about FBI investigations or Senate ethics committees. They care about the $1.8 million she owes them, and the fact that David's evidence could expose their entire political money laundering network. $1.8 million. Not $340,000 like David wrote in his journal, nearly $2 million. Senator, what exactly did you find in the storage unit? Agent Gonzalez asks. Videos, financial records, and a list of every politician who's taken laundered gambling money over the past 5 years. David documented everything, names, amounts, dates. It's enough to bring down half the Senate. Agent Gonzalez and I exchange glances. This isn't just about David's revenge on Jessica anymore. This is about a massive political corruption scandal that he'd been documenting for years. Tom, I say, where's this evidence now? That's the problem, Sarah. It's not in the storage unit anymore. Someone got there before me and took everything except one item David hid separately. His voice becomes urgent. Sarah, you need to get somewhere safe. David left a final message specifically for you, and when these people realize you might have access to his complete records. The line goes dead. Agent Gonzalez immediately gets on her radio, coordinating protection details and trying to trace Tom's location. But I'm staring at David's journal, realizing there might be more coded information I haven't decoded yet. Because if my dead husband managed to document a multi-million-dollar political corruption scheme involving organized crime, his final surprise for me might be the most dangerous one yet. Agent Gonzalez assigns 2 agents to escort me home while she coordinates the manhunt for Tom Williams. As we drive through my quiet neighborhood, I can't stop thinking about his final words, that David left me a message about something even more dangerous than what we'd already uncovered. My house feels different when we walk in. Agent Morrison does a sweep while Agent Chin waits with me in the kitchen, but everything appears normal. Too normal, maybe, like someone has been here and carefully put everything back in place. Mrs. Chen, where exactly did your husband keep his personal files? Agent Morrison asks, returning from upstairs. I lead them to David's home office, a meticulously organized space where he handled insurance paperwork and medical journals. His briefcase sits exactly where I left it 3 days ago, but when I run my hand along the lining looking for the key to storage unit 247, I find nothing but smooth leather. It's gone, I whisper. The key was supposed to be here. Agent Chen examines the briefcase with gloved hands. There are tool marks along the seam. Someone opened the lining and resealed it professionally. My phone rings. It's Marcus Webb from the bank. Mrs. Chen, I'm calling because someone contacted First National an hour ago claiming to be your attorney. They had detailed information about both safety deposit boxes and wanted to know about any additional accounts Dr. Chen might have maintained. What did you tell them? Nothing, of course. But Mrs. Chen, there is a third account. Dr. Chen opened it 2 weeks before he died, and he left very specific instructions that you were only to be notified if someone else came looking for it. A third account. David's contingency plans apparently had contingency plans. Agent Morrison takes the phone. Mr. Webb, this is FBI Agent Morrison. We need details about this third account immediately. The account contains a single safe deposit box, number 573. Dr. Chen deposited one item, a sealed envelope with instructions that it should only be opened in the presence of FBI agents if Mrs. Chen's safety was threatened. Agent Gonzalez's voice crackles through Agent Morrison's radio. We've located Tom Williams' vehicle abandoned near Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. No sign of him, but there's blood on the driver's seat. Blood. My legs give out and I sink into David's desk chair. Agent Morrison, I need to know what David left in that third box. Before she can respond, my doorbell rings. Through the window, I see a woman in an expensive suit flanked by two men who definitely aren't FBI agents. Agent Chen draws her weapon. Mrs. Chen, do you recognize any of these people? I shake my head, but something about the woman seems familiar. She's blonde, professionally dressed, carrying herself with the kind of confidence that comes from wielding serious power. Agent Morrison peers through the blinds. The woman is Victoria Castellano. She's been under federal surveillance for 2 years as a suspected money laundering coordinator for East Coast gambling operations. Victoria Castellano. The name clicks. David mentioned her once, dismissively, as one of Jessica's new friends from Atlanta. I'd assumed she was another political wife. She's here for David's evidence, I realize. The complete records Tom mentioned. Agent Chen speaks into her radio, calling for backup, but Victoria Castellano is already at my front door. When she knocks, it's polite, almost casual. Mrs. Chen? My name is Victoria Castellano. I'm here about your husband's final arrangements. I think we need to have a conversation about what's best for everyone involved. Agent Morrison positions herself behind the door. Mrs. Chen, we're not opening that door. But my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Sarah, they have Tom Williams. If you want him to live, you'll invite Victoria inside to discuss David's complete files. You have 5 minutes to decide. The FBI can't protect you from what's coming if you don't cooperate. I show the message to Agent Morrison, whose face goes pale. Mrs. Chen, we cannot let you negotiate with organized crime figures. And we can't let them kill Tom Williams, I reply, though the irony isn't lost on me that I'm trying to save the man who destroyed my sister and helped cover up David's crimes. Victoria knocks again. Mrs. Chen, I know you're in there with federal agents. This doesn't have to be complicated. Your husband documented some business relationships that are now causing problems for multiple parties. We simply need to retrieve his materials and ensure everyone's continued safety. I look at David's journal, at his final letter still clutched in my hands, at the evidence of betrayals that keeps multiplying like cancer. Then I walk to the front door. Victoria Castellano, I call through the wood. You have exactly 1 minute to tell me what you really want before I let these agents arrest you for threatening a federal witness. Her laugh is cold and professional. Mrs. Chen, what I want is very simple. Your husband kept detailed records of political donations that could destroy dozens of careers and expose financial networks worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Those records need to disappear. And if they don't? Then people start dying, starting with Senator Williams and ending with anyone else who's seen David's complete documentation. Agent Morrison is frantically radioing for backup while Agent Chen keeps her weapon trained on the door. But I'm thinking about David's methodical planning, about his need to control every variable even from beyond the grave. Victoria, I call out, what makes you think I have access to records the FBI doesn't already know about? Because your husband was smarter than federal agents, Mrs. Chen. He kept the most dangerous information separate from everything he gave him. And according to our sources, there's one final location that only you can access. The third safety deposit box. David's final contingency. What happens if I give you what you want? Everyone walks away. Tom Williams goes home to his ruined career but keeps breathing. Jessica serves her time quietly without any unfortunate accidents. And you get to mourn your husband without worrying about who might blame you for his cooperation with federal authorities. Agent Morrison shakes her head urgently, but I'm already making my decision. Because David spent 15 years manipulating my choices, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let organized crime do the same thing. Victoria, I say, opening the door just wide enough to meet her eyes, I think you underestimated what my husband taught me about playing chess. I open the door wider, letting Victoria Castellano see Agent Morrison's weapon drawn behind me. Her two companions immediately tense, hands moving toward their jackets, but Victoria raises one manicured finger and they freeze. Mrs. Chen, I appreciate directness, she says, stepping into my foyer like she owns it. So let me be direct with you. Your husband documented $47 million in political contributions that were laundered through medical charities over the past 8 years. That money came from casino operations in 12 states, and it funded campaigns for 37 federal politicians. Agent Morrison keeps her weapon trained on Victoria's associates. Ma'am, you're confessing to federal crimes. Victoria laughs, a sound like breaking glass. Agent Morrison, I'm confessing to business arrangements that kept the American political system functioning. Dr. Chen understood that until he decided to play hero in his final weeks. She pulls out her phone and shows me a video. It's Tom Williams, zip-tied to a chair in what looks like a warehouse, blood trickling from his nose. He's alive, as promised. But Mrs. Chen, my associates found something interesting when they searched Senator Williams' car. Victoria swipes to another video, this one showing Tom frantically searching through boxes in David's storage unit. He wasn't looking for evidence to destroy. He was looking for evidence to steal. My blood runs cold. What do you mean? Tom Williams owes my organization $3.2 million in gambling debts that he accumulated secretly over the past 2 years. Jessica's debts were small time compared to her husband's addiction. Victoria's smile is razor sharp. Your husband knew this, of course. That's why Tom was so cooperative about the money laundering. He needed access to clean cash to pay us back. Agent Morrison speaks into her radio. We need financial forensics on Senator Williams' personal accounts immediately. But Victoria isn't done. Dr. Chen's final stroke of genius was creating a situation where Tom would be desperate enough to steal evidence that could implicate dozens of other politicians. Then Tom could sell that information to the highest bidder, foreign governments, rival political parties, anyone willing to pay for leverage over half the Senate. The pieces click into place with horrible clarity. David didn't just expose Jessica's crimes, he created a scenario where Tom would be forced to become a traitor to save his own life. The third safety deposit box, I whisper. David knew Tom would try to steal the evidence, so he kept the most dangerous material separate. Victoria nods approvingly. Dr. Chen was remarkably thorough. Box 573 contains financial records that could destroy not just American politicians, but several foreign intelligence operations that were using our casino networks to influence U.S. policy. Agent Chen, who's been silent by the window, suddenly speaks up. Mrs. Chen, we have a problem. There are 3 more vehicles approaching your house, and they're not law enforcement. Through the window, I see black SUVs parking across my street. Men in dark suits are getting out, and they're not trying to be subtle about the weapons under their jackets. Victoria checks her watch. Mrs. Chen, those are foreign operatives who want David's evidence for very different reasons than we do. You have approximately 4 minutes to decide whether you're going to help us retrieve box 573, or whether you're going to explain to Chinese intelligence agents why your husband documented their illegal contributions to American campaigns. Chinese intelligence. David had stumbled onto something that went far beyond domestic political corruption. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. Sarah, this is Tom. They're moving me. Victoria's people aren't the only ones who want David's files. Whatever you do, don't trust the FBI. Some of them are compromised. Check David's calendar from March 2nd. March 2nd. 3 days before David died. I grab his appointment book from the kitchen counter and flip to that date. There, in David's careful handwriting, meeting with Agent Patricia Gonzalez, 2 p.m., discuss final arrangements. Agent Gonzalez wasn't just responding to David's tip. She'd been meeting with him privately before he died. I look up at Agent Morrison, whose expression has gone very careful, very neutral. Agent Morrison, I say slowly, when did the FBI first make contact with my husband about his evidence? Victoria Castellano's smile widens as Agent Morrison hesitates just a fraction too long. Mrs. Chen, Victoria says softly, I think you're beginning to understand that the chess game your husband was playing had more players than you realized. The black SUVs across the street are now empty, and I can't see where their occupants went. Which means they're probably surrounding my house right now. I stare at Agent Morrison, whose hand has moved slightly closer to her weapon, but not toward Victoria's men. Toward me. Agent Morrison, I say carefully, how long have you been working with David? Mrs. Chen, I think we need to focus on the immediate threat. Answer the question. Victoria's voice cuts through the tension like a blade. Because Mrs. Chen deserves to know that her husband was playing a much more sophisticated game than anyone realized. Agent Morrison's radio crackles with Agent Gonzalez's voice. Morrison, what's your status? We're showing multiple unknown vehicles in the area. But Morrison doesn't respond. Instead, she looks directly at me with something that might be sympathy. Sarah, your husband contacted us 18 months ago. Not 3 weeks ago like we told you. He'd been feeding us information about the casino money laundering for over a year. My legs nearly give out. 18 months. That was right after David's cancer went into temporary remission, when he seemed to get a second wind about life. The FBI meetings weren't about protecting me from insurance fraud, I whisper. They were about building a case against foreign intelligence operations. Victoria pulls out a tablet and shows me a photograph, David shaking hands with a man in an expensive suit outside a restaurant I don't recognize. Your husband met with Li Wei-chen from the Chinese Ministry of State Security 4 times last year. Li Wei was coordinating campaign contributions through our casino networks to influence American defense policy. The photograph is date-stamped July 15, 2022. I remember that day, David said he was having dinner with medical colleagues to discuss a research grant. He came home energized in a way I hadn't seen since before his diagnosis. Agent Morrison finally speaks into her radio. Agent Gonzalez, we have a complex situation here. Mrs. Chen has information that affects ongoing counterintelligence operations. Victoria's phone buzzes and she glances at it, her expression darkening. Mrs. Chen, we're out of time. The Chinese operatives just breached your backyard perimeter. They're not here to negotiate. Through my kitchen window, I see movement in the trees behind my house. Dark figures moving with military precision. What do they want? I ask, though my voice sounds far away. Li Wei-chen believes your husband recorded their conversations and documented the full scope of Chinese intelligence penetration of American politics, Victoria explains rapidly. If that information surfaces, it could trigger an international incident that destroys billions in trade relationships. Agent Morrison draws her weapon, but she's pointing it toward the back door, not at Victoria. Mrs. Chen, I need you to call the bank right now and authorize access to box 573. We can sort out jurisdictional issues later. No, I say, and my voice is steadier than I expected. First I want to know exactly who Agent Gonzalez is working for. Victoria and Agent Morrison exchange a look that tells me everything I need to know. Patricia Gonzalez has been feeding information to Chinese intelligence for 2 years, Victoria says quietly. Your husband figured it out and started documenting her communications. That's why he insisted on meeting with other agents for his final arrangements. My phone rings. It's Agent Gonzalez. Sarah, where are you? We've lost contact with Morrison and Chen, and there are reports of foreign operatives in your neighborhood. You need to get to safety immediately. I look at Agent Morrison, who shakes her head urgently. Victoria mouths the word speaker. I answer on speakerphone. Agent Gonzalez, I'm at home with Agent Morrison. She's been explaining David's counterintelligence work. The silence stretches for 5 seconds too long. When Gonzalez speaks again, her voice has changed completely. Sarah, Agent Morrison is not authorized to discuss classified operations. I need you to end that conversation and wait for my arrival. Agent Morrison whispers, Patricia doesn't know about the 3rd box. David kept that information from her. Glass shatters in my kitchen. The Chinese operatives are inside my house. The sound of boots on my kitchen floor galvanizes everyone into action. Agent Morrison spins toward the back door while Victoria's men draw weapons I didn't know they were carrying. But I'm staring at David's appointment book, at one final entry I missed. March 10th, 3 days after he died. In his handwriting, Sarah reads this, call Marcus Webb, tell him checkmate. He'll understand. Checkmate. David's final chess move. I dial Marcus Webb as glass continues shattering behind me. He answers on the first ring. Mrs. Chen? Are you safe? Marcus, David wrote checkmate in his appointment book. He said you'd understand. Thank God. Sarah, listen carefully. There is no safety deposit box 573. David made that up. Everything, all the evidence, all the recordings, every document, is stored on encrypted servers that activate only when I receive that code word from you. My knees nearly buckle. Even now, even with Chinese operatives in my house and FBI corruption and organized crime, David was still 3 steps ahead of everyone. The evidence is already uploading to the Washington Post, the New York Times, the FBI Director's Office, and 12 foreign intelligence services. Web continues rapidly. But Sarah, David left you one final choice. Victoria grabs my arm. What choice? I put Web on speaker. Tell us. Mrs. Chen can authorize a 12-hour delay in the release. Enough time for people to make arrangements. Or she can let it publish immediately. David said the choice should be yours because you're the only person in this whole mess who never chose to betray anyone. Agent Morrison is barking orders into a radio while the sounds from my kitchen grow louder. But I'm thinking about 15 years of believing I was married to a man who didn't love me, about caring for him through 3 rounds of chemo, about sacrificing everything for someone who documented his resentment in a leather journal. And then I think about his final letter, asterisk, you were never the consolation prize, Sarah. You were the prize itself, asterisk. Mr. Webb, I say, loud enough for everyone to hear, release everything. Now. Victoria's face goes white. Mrs. Chen, you don't understand what you're doing. This will destroy. Good, I cut her off. Let it all burn. David spent years documenting lies and corruption and betrayal. The least I can do is make sure the truth finally sees daylight. Agent Morrison's radio explodes with chatter as the evidence starts hitting newsrooms across the country. Within minutes, I hear sirens in the distance, real FBI, real backup, responding to what's about to become the biggest political scandal in decades. The Chinese operatives retreat as quickly as they came, apparently deciding that shooting up a suburban house isn't worth it when the evidence they wanted is already public. Victoria looks at me with something like respect. Your husband trained you well, Mrs. Chen. No, I reply, watching through the window as genuine federal agents surround my house. He just finally told me the truth. And I decided what to do with it. 3 hours later, Jessica calls from federal custody. Tom Williams has been found alive. Agent Gonzalez is under arrest. And my phone hasn't stopped ringing with reporters, lawyers, and federal prosecutors who want to know how David Chen managed to document the largest foreign intelligence penetration of American politics in 50 years. But I'm sitting in David's office, holding his grandmother's ring, reading his final letter again. Asterisk, I love you. I have loved you. I will always love you, asterisk. Maybe he meant it. Maybe he didn't. Maybe it took dying for him to realize what he'd lost, or maybe it was just one more manipulation from beyond the grave. It doesn't matter anymore. Because I finally forgave him, not for his sake, but for mine. And tomorrow, I'm going to start building a life that belongs entirely to me.